Hello, I'm Brian Galbraith. I'm the owner of Galbraith Family Law. We have offices in Barrie and Newmarket, and all we do is family law. So we work on helping clients who have tricky issues related to parenting, financial issues, any issues related to family law. And probably the most pressing and challenging issue that we're finding right now is the issue of how to deal with children who are moving from home to home. Parents want to know what they should do and how to protect them and how to ensure that they're safe during this pandemic. So I've brought together four of our lawyers here at the Galbraith Family Law, and we're going to just have a little conversation about what advice they would give to clients who contact them and want to know about how to deal with the pandemic and their family right now. So let's start with you, Charles. Let's say a family comes to you, a client comes to you and says, we have a parenting arrangement in place. I've had it for some time now, but now it's a new world. It's a new reality with the pandemic, and we're being told to isolate and distance ourselves from others. Should we continue to exchange the children, or maybe we need to suspend that for a few months? What advice would you give that family, that client?
I'd say, generally speaking, if there's a court order in place or there's a separation agreement where you guys have a planned access regime, or there's something you've just been following, even if it's not on paper, but it's just been a generally accepted practice of how the kids go back and forth, that you should continue that. The kids need normalcy in their lives. A lot of things are changing. A lot of their lives are different right now. But as much as we can keep it as normal as possible, that's a good thing. We may, it's got to be a case by case basis, though. If we have one parent who's showing symptoms or is sick, then we may need to adjust at that point. Or if they've been in contact with someone with COVID-19 and been told to self quarantine, or if they've been traveling, then perhaps we may have to change the arrangement for a couple weeks during the 14-day waiting periods. But generally speaking, try to keep things as normal as possible for the children, as that's important as well during this time.
And I understand that, of course, that the courts are closed, but that they are sometimes hearing urgent matters on this issue. And is this the message that the courts are saying as well, that the parents should maintain normalcy and keep the normal parenting arrangements in place?
Yes, it is. And the courts are very clear. It has to be a very urgent issue. It has to be an issue where the kids are imminently in danger. And that means that you have to have strong evidence that the other party is either in quarantine or not respecting social distancing out in the community, or is sick or in contact with someone with COVID-19. If you don't have that kind of strong evidence, the courts aren't likely to move it ahead.
Great. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Charles. And now, Samantha, what sort of preparations should parents have? They make adjustments because of the pandemic. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, going further to what Charles was saying, we do want to keep within the spirit and what orders have stated, what separation agreements have stated. But sometimes those do need to be tweaked, and parents need to be prepared for possible changes. Also, need to be prepared and open and honest with each other of plans. So what would happen? They have to have a plan together and discuss with one another what would happen if there's symptoms, if either parent shows symptoms, if either the children show symptoms. An open, honest discussion with each other of a plan to be put in place. Other situations, such as, let's say, pickup points or access exchange points, we want to keep with the spirit of what the separation agreement or order may say, and want to make sure that the children have normalcy. But let's say a McDonald's is not open. There could be a pickup point at a McDonald's and it's not open. So parents can discuss with one another and tweak that another place be chosen in the interim, that they can do an access exchange. A lot of times those access exchanges could be because it's a middle point. But sometimes, if there's a situation of open honesty and discussing things, it's very important between the parties. And tweaking something like an access point is quite acceptable right now during this situation. There are parents, though, that may not be able to do that. So if they have an access point that they're doing an exchange because of past history of violence or abuse, that may be a different story. And these clients, should know that they can contact their lawyer. The lawyers are open, like our office, that we can maybe address that with the other party to choose another point or choose another place for an access exchange for the safety of the client.
Right. And if they do make some changes, some tweaks to the arrangements, do you think they're going to be stuck with that forever, or do you think it'll return back to the original routine, or what do you anticipate will happen?
No, it won't. It will not be permanent. It's deemed to be right now as temporary. It's not establishing a status quo, and courts would recognize that too. It's an interim measure to be able to facilitate the best interests of the children, so that they can have quality time with both parents. Just because this pandemic is happening does not mean that the children should not have quality time with both parents. It's just a small interim measure. If parents are somewhat nervous about that, there's nothing wrong with emailing each other a little brief agreement about it. We're going to say, until this pandemic is done, this is how we're going to approach this.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's always good advice to make sure it's in writing, so that there's clarity and you have a record of the discussion. So I think that's really good advice. But sometimes parents can't come to an agreement. And Christina, what are your thoughts about that? Is it uh, Charles said sometimes you can go to court, but what other ways of resolving it can you use?
So there are a number of ways that we can help our clients resolve family law issues. The vast majority of our cases are resolved outside of the court process without going to court. So we can help clients negotiate agreements. We can help clients use mediation. We can help clients use arbitration. And we can also help clients by using the collaborative practice process. And all of these processes are outside of the court system. So there are a number of ways that we can still resolve family law issues without resorting to the courts.
Yeah, I think people see on TV the lawyers doing all of their work in the courtroom, and that's just not reality, is it? I think 80% of our cases are resolved without going to court whatsoever, right? It's all about negotiation. Any other thoughts about how to get things resolved? What advice would you give to a client who's anxious?
I would say communicate with the other side at this time is really good to do. We have to keep our lines of communication open between everybody so that we can get these issues resolved. We have to be open-minded, and we have to recognize that we're in unusual times right now, and that things will change, just like Samantha had mentioned. Things will change on a temporary basis for the time being until everything has settled down.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. Yeah. And it is so important just to realize that parenting is not a competitive sport. The parents need to be on the same page, especially now. Bury past grievances, be creative, be respectful, and do your best to work things out for the sake of your children. But if you get stuck, we're still open, right? We can still meet with people via Zoom or Skype or FaceTime or whatever technology our clients are comfortable with, or just through email even, and help them resolve any of these thorny issues, because it's tough, it's stressful, parents are worried, but we can help. So thanks very much, Charles, Samantha, and Christina. And if anyone has any questions, go to our website, galbraithfamilylaw.com, and we'll be pleased to meet with you and help you through your situation. Thank you.